30 to 40 million Americans are at risk of being evicted. 10.9 million Americans are spending over 50% of their income towards their rent. Nearly 50 million Americans have filed for unemployment. 29 to 43% of Americans are at risk of being evicted by the end of 2020. Landlords are not collecting rent from their tenants. Million Americans have nowhere to go and no money to spend. There is so much panic in real estate and it's only getting worse. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on the eviction crisis that's to come, and that's making everybody full of fear. Now, don't forget, if you got any value from this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and let's get started. Now guys, before the eviction crisis that's to come, we've already had a housing shortage. Listen to this. An article came out in 2017 and said, the United States needs 4.6 million new apartments by 2030 or it will face a serious shortage. Fast forward 3 years later in 2020, it doesn't even have that, and not only that, but the pandemic hit. Now, for those of you who are real estate agents or are in the market to find rentals, like you want to find an apartment for yourself or a house, you know there's a serious shortage. Right now, if you call apartment complexes, 1 beds and 2 baths, they're basically gone. You're going to be waiting on a wait list. Why? People who are in 3 bedrooms downsize to 2, and those in 2 bedrooms downsize to 1. Everyone's trying to save some money, and if not save money, nobody's trying to move. To find houses to rent is almost impossible. They're flying off the shelves. To find apartments, it's very hard, and they are overpriced. Now, when you have no money to rent, you're in a pandemic, there is uncertainty, you might have just lost your job. What do you think is going to happen? 30 to 40 million Americans are at risk of being evicted. Look at that number. Look at how many people are at risk to being kicked out of their home, who have kids, who have families, who have no work and nowhere else to go. 20.8 million Americans, listen to this, couldn't afford rent before the pandemic. This means that before all of this happened, they couldn't even afford it. Now, they officially can't afford it. These numbers are crazy and they're only going up. For those who are wondering where I'm getting all these stats from, it's from Aspen Institute, and they're monitoring this stuff weekly. When this pandemic began, 10.9 million Americans are spending more than 50% of their income towards rent. Can you imagine that? That's not towards food, car insurance, car payments, your day-to-day life. More than 50% of your income towards rent. So if you're making $2,000 a month, $1,000 is going straight to rent. $5,000 a month, $2,500 is going straight to rent. It's crazy. How do you expect to survive if 50% or more is going to rent? Now, these stimulus checks everyone's talking about and how they're making $1,200 per person in their household and $600 per kid, millions of people haven't even received that. Actually, millions of dead people received it, and those who are alive haven't even received it. So they can't even rely on stimulus checks from the government because so many haven't even claimed it. There's a study in the eviction lab in Princeton University that says from year 2000 to 2016, 61 million Americans have been evicted. 61 million. That's an average of 3.6 million evictions annually and 7 evictions every single minute. Now, landlords are hardly collecting rent from their tenants. What's going to happen to them when they have bank notes? They got to pay property tax, insurance, maintenance, and then also pay back the bank. What's going to happen to them when the person renting from them is not paying them? This means that landlords have to file an eviction. Then they have to sit vacant for a couple of months. Then they have to pay court costs, reletting costs, all of this stuff that they have to pay. And then on top of that, they have to pay the bank. How are they going to survive? How are they going to stay floating? You're talking about not just an eviction crisis now, but a foreclosure crisis, a bankruptcy crisis. It just gets worse and worse and worse because at the end of the day, someone's got to get paid. As of July 2020, 50 million Americans have filed for unemployment. 50 million. Now I want you to picture this with me. From March to July, the unemployment rate has fluctuated from 11.1% to 14.4%. Now compare that to the Great Recession that peaked at 10.7%. Guys, if we are not in a recession right now, then I don't know what we're in. You have 30% of renters using government assistance or paying their rent through credit cards. Imagine you're paying your rent through a credit card just to delay another month. And then when that month comes, how are you gonna pay your rent? How are you gonna pay your statement? In my personal opinion, we are in for a ride for an eviction crisis. We have landlords not collecting their money. We have tenants getting laid off. We have tenants not paying. We have banks not being paid. It's just crazy. There's so much going on. There's so much uncertainty and so much fear. And to be honest, my prayers are for everybody who's struggling through all of this. Anyways, guys, that's all we have for this video. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.